Hey folks, hope you're all doing well, and welcome to episode 30 of Recommend an Album to Review. Alright, so for this week we got something a little bit different, something in a genre that I don't think I've done one of these yet on. The genre is, some people don't, excuse me, some people don't like the term grunge, but that whole Seattle thing. The band that I'm going to be talking about is Sonic Youth. They were in that mix with the other Seattle bands of the day. You know, your Soundgardens, your Pearl Jams, that sort of whole grunge thing. And they were one of the forerunners in that mix. They never made it to quite the levels of the other bands that I mentioned. Their stuff was a little less commercial than those bands. They were very experimental, very avant-garde, if you will. In their songs and the sounds that they were using and the different textures and things. But the album I'm talking about today is called Sister. And I'm just mention some of the folks in the band. So you have Thurston Moore, plays guitar, vocals, plays a Moog synthesizer, some bass guitar. You've got Kim Gordon, plays some bass guitar, also does some vocals. There's a couple of, she does a couple of lead vocals on this, a few of them anyways. And then you got Lee Ronaldo, another guitar player, does vocals as well, and Steve Shelley is the drummer. There's a lot of real experimentation going on here in terms of like a lot of odd guitar sounds. There's a lot of atonal stuff. There's a lot of dissonance. There's a lot of angst. There's a punk attitude. There's like a garage element to it. I hear there's some Echo and the Bunnymen moments. Just a lot of sort of stuff going on here. I mean, this is definitely not for the mass audience. I could see a lot of people not liking this. I thought it was just I thought it was interesting, and despite all that and the noisy backgrounds and sort of stuff going on, I mean, hear a lot of Stooges influence in it, a lot of punk influence in this, but I still hear, some nice guitar lines now and again, and some cool riffs and some hooky vocal melodies. So an interesting record, Sister, came out in 1987. Okay, so let's go through the tracks. All right, the opening track is Schizophrenia. It's got I don't I don't know who's singing lead, but there's a male singer who sings he's what I sounds like he sings the majority of the songs, but there's a little bit of female vocal in there as well. It's got some really nice guitar on it. I do like the the guitar riff that goes through it, and then there's a lot of overbends, and then there's some dissonance, of course, that goes on. It really sort of stretches the limits of musicality and non-musicality, but I do have an appreciation for it still. A pretty decent track. It goes a little wacky at the end with some, just expanding on the guitar motif and kind of carry it into the stratosphere. There's not a lot of technical playing going on there. It's on here. It's not that kind of band. It's more, we're just going to squeeze out every sound that we can out of our instruments. But as an opening track, not a bad track. This one is kind of starts out real sparse and then sort of builds. So not a bad beginner, not a bad starter. Schizophrenia. All right, then you've got Catholic Block. Now this is a pretty catchy song. I mean, there is a point where in the middle where it kind of goes all wonky, but then it kind of comes back. But it's kind of an up-tempo song, pretty catchy. I like the riff. I like the vocal on it. I like the vocals on this whole record pretty much. Again, not, crazy good, technical singing or whatever, but it suits the mood and it suits the music. And, Yeah, Catholic Block is actually a pretty good song. Then you got Beauty Lies in the Eye. This is just real atmospheric. It's got a guitar that goes through it. I don't think there's even really any much drums on this. It's got the female part member of the band is singing lead on it. Well, it's not even singing. It's sort of like spoken word, sort of like a trance like vocal delivery over kind of a very atmospheric, kind of moody backing track. You know, interesting. Um, Not particularly hooky or catchy. There's no real crazy riffs. It's just sort of a statement more than anything. Again, kind of, you know, kind of pushing the limits a little bit musically, but it's definitely a statement. So you got Stereo Sanctity. This is to me sounds a lot like Echo and the Bunnymen. You know those early British bands that were sort of, you know, just really technical players, just kind of learning how to play and just creating songs, some really good songs. But I kind of get that vibe from this one. Kind of up tempo. You know, song, and then of course, you know, in place of I guess you know, where most songs would have like some type of a solo, just gets real busy and real I don't want to use the word noise. It's just a lot of layering and just really you know, trying to create a lot of textures with the guitar. There's really no solos in this. I mean, solos, if you remember back in those days, solos were not cool, right? So, guitar solos specifically. So, but, you know, okay track, Stereo Sanctity. I think a Pipeline Killed Time. Yeah, this one is got all this stuff that I was mentioning before. You know, a lot of sort of dissonance to it. There's just a lot of, you know, a good chunk of the song is just creating all these textures and different sounds and some dissonance and all that sort of thing. You know, again, very experimental, which a lot of the songs are, they all have that sort of moment in them where they just kind of squeeze out a bunch of sounds, you know, that you can get out of, you know, overbending guitars and I don't know, just banging them away and using different effects and things. And this song has a lot of that in it. So, yeah, that's Pipeline Kill Time. All right, Tough Gnarl. Now, this starts off really good. I mean, it's got a really nice, it's a really nice song. And then it descends into that whole, you know, sound experimentation thing that they do, um, you know, which kind of, I mean, they started off with a real, you know, what I would consider a nice melodic kind of catchy tune, and then it kind of descends into that. So, I mean, and honestly, there's only so much of that I can handle. Like, I don't mind it, you know, the odd thing here and there if it kind of embellishes what's going on. But when the whole song sort of descends into, you know, it kind of, for me, I lose the thread. You know, there's the band that this reminds me a lot of is too, when, you know, because Soundgarden do a lot of this, right? You know, they have their more sort of commercial, straight ahead songs that everybody knows and loves and get radio play and all that. But they do a lot of experimental stuff. This is like Soundgarden with less gain, you know, less distortion, less heavy, you know, whatever you want to call it. So, but yeah, this one starts off kind of cool and then sort of descends into that. So, I think a Pacific Coast Highway, which kind of starts off with, again, a real dissonant, kind of noisy thing with, you know, the lady in the band doing like a spoken thing, and then it you know, there's this real, turns into this real sort of instrumental thing where he's playing this line that's really cool, you know, that sounds kind of good, and then that sort of, you know, keeps getting extended and pushed and more noisy, and you know, I started using the term noise, and I said I'm not going to use the term noise, but it's just a lot of different effects and textures and things and experimentation, as I mentioned, and yeah, but yeah, it's Pacific Coast Highway. You know, you get that one piece. there's like that one piece that you like that's kind of cool, and then it sort of diverts into that whole, we don't want to be commercial. So there you go. But it's another example of that. All right, then there's Hotwire My Heart, which I just saw that it's a cover. This is this to me reminds me a lot of the Stooges. Um, it's got like just grindy guitar with sort of a intentionally dissonant, single note thing that runs over top of it. And then it gets to the chorus. I mean, it's of a more sort of straightforward song than some of the other ones in terms of structure wise, but yeah, it's this one's not really catchy. There's this like I said, a lot of them still have those sort of moments, those melodic moments, those hooky moments that kind of grab you as a listener. This song pretty much doesn't do a lot for me, but yeah, there you go. Hot and Crown. This is a real melancholy kind of dirge type of track. This one's not bad. It's just really melancholy. They really set a mood with this one. But it's one of the more straightforward songs. There's not as much of that sort of noise thing going on or texture things. Make sound effects with guitar periods. On this one, but it's really kind of slow and dirgy and very melancholic. So yeah, it's Cotton Crown. And the last track is White Cross. So this got some, there's some cool riffing on this. It's very punk. This one, excuse me, up tempo. It's got some cool riffs here and there. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. How would I summarize this record? It's interesting. You know, I like the experimentation. It works at times. The atonalness, the dissonance, the sort of intentionally playing out a key, the overbends, all that sort of thing. It works at times, but a lot of songs that are promising, there's just too much of that, and it just really detracts from what would have been a great song. I just think it's overdone. The avant-gardeness of it, if you want to call it that, the experimentation of it, if you want to call it that, it's too much. I mean, yeah, I appreciate, I'm like listening, I'm like, wow, they got that sound of a guitar. Like, I'm impressed as a guitar player. I'm like, wow, how did he get that sound? What pedals was he using? How was he, coaxing that sound? I mean, it's interesting, but as a listener, I've never been a big fan of that sort of thing. I do, and I love, a lot of punk stuff. I mean, I'm a huge, punk fan. Especially, the Killing Joke and UK Subs and early Adamant and the Sex Pistols and the Stranglers. I love all that stuff, but but this is just it's too. It's like they're just sort of using that as a foundation and then just layering way too much stuff on it, where you lose the coolness of the licks or the riffs and the melodies. And yeah, it's just that this is not for me. Okay. But Sonic Youth, they're a much respected band in the genre, and they stretch the limits. They did all that. I give them props for all of that, but again, just my opinion, they're not for me. So, if I was to rate this out of 5, for me, I mean, this would be like, I won't go back and this did not perk my interest and want to listen to the rest of the Sonic Youth catalog. By the way, I should mention I'd heard of Sonic Youth. I just never listened to any of their music until this record. Yeah, I have no interest in going back and going through like their catalog or anything. Um, I'll give it a 2.5 just for the experimentation of it. Those cool moments that are on here. But as something I would go back and listen to, no, it's not for me. So, anyways, so how this show works is every week. And thanks to the subscriber who recommended this to me. I'm always game for listening to new stuff. That's the whole point of this show. Um, but how the show works is every week I do these every Thursday. They come out at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the comments, put down any record you would like me to review. I think, though, for next week, I'm going to turn the tables a little bit. I think for next week, I'm going to pick the record. And here's why. I'm going to pick the record because there are some bands that you may not know that I think are really, really cool. And I'd like to give those bands a little bit of you know, a little bit of a mention and see if, maybe some of you will dig it, right? So I think for next week, I'm going to pick my own record to review. And I'm not going to do that regularly. It's just we've done 30 of these. Number 31 is going to be on me. But that being said, I need records for episode 32. So please go ahead and throw those into the comments, and I'll have a look at those. So thanks everybody for checking out the show. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe. Please hit the like, and we'll see you next Thursday. All right, take care, everybody. Cheers.